Hi everybody, welcome to Grand Circus. I see a few familiar faces. Has anyone been here before? Alright, a few people. So Ian's actually going to talk about what we do here, but my name's Tricia. Welcome, it's great to have DNewTech here. I am the operations coordinator here at Grand Circus. So I work on the operations team. I also work on events, bringing in events like this into our space. And I also help as a program manager with our coding boot camps, which Ian will teach you about.
Okay, well, thank you, Trish. Again, welcome to Grand Circus. For those of you who have not been to the space before, we occupy both the second, third, and the fourth floor, and along with like a coding workspace. We also have a cooperative space, which Trish was briefly talking about, which is a co-worker space. So you can rent a desk. You can, smaller companies, 2 or 3 person companies like rent desk out, and basically the purpose of that is that you can kind of have a satellite out office. A lot of times they can operate on the 3rd and 4th floors if they need to host larger meetings, but it's just a really cool space. Along with the boot camps, what we do is coding training for individuals who are looking to maybe go into development or just advance a little bit of coding knowledge. So currently we're hosting 3 full-time boot camps.
4. Or 3 full-time.
3 full-time. Yeah, 3 full-time boot camps and 1 part-time. So we specialize, we have an iOS development class in the corner room over there, JavaScript, and then we do have a part-time JavaScript boot camp. Our boot camps consist of anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. The part-time boot camp is about 10 weeks. And basically, the whole purpose of Grand Circus is to bring tech training to Detroit and basically build a different industry in the city. And so our whole purpose is just to be a part of the community, get people in our space. We also rent out this space for events, meetups, events like this. So if you guys are ever interested in doing anything or hosting any type of events, please reach out to us. And anytime there's any type of public curriculum or demo days, you're more than welcome to take part in that. And the demo days are basically the final projects of all the boot camps at the end of their 8-week period. So it's a great opportunity for you to see some of the work that's created after that 8 weeks of training, and it's a great opportunity for you to network with other individuals.
So definitely check out our website. It's grandcircusdetroit.com. You can learn more about co-working in our space, also our full-time coding boot camps, as well as the night classes, the workshops, seminars, and anything of that sort. So welcome, have a great night, and we hope to see you all again.
I'll make one correction. So it's grandcircus.co, not com. If you go to com, it's a...
No, it's grandcircusdetroit.com.
Oh, Detroit. Okay, yes.
Or grandcircus.co. Both
there
work.
we go. All right.
All right, thanks you guys. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thanks for kicking us off, Tricia and Ian. This is a great space. So I was just looking around. Thanks everyone for coming out. Being here and adding to the DNewTech community, which offers resources, competitions, a platform to pitch your technology venture. So without further ado, I'd just like to say welcome and bring to the stage our first speaker, Seun Oyewole, and we'll take it from there.
How's it going, everyone?
Hello.
Hello. Hey, can we try that one more time? I know it's a little late. We're all out of work, but we get a little bit of energy. How's everyone doing this evening?
Great.
Coolio. So I don't want to take too much time, but I was invited to speak today to kind of talk about what I do at Invest Detroit. So Invest Detroit is a family of funds based here in downtown Detroit. We actually do a lot of real estate development work as well as commercial loans. And we have about $220 million assets under management. That's everything from commercial loans to new market tax credits. So certain buildings we've helped kind of finance in the city. So like the Broader Tower we're in right now, we help finance, where Shinola is in Midtown as well as the Auburn area. So those are sort of the real estate projects that Invest Detroit is known for. But we also have 2 venture capital funds, which I represent. First Step Fund and Detroit Innovate Funds. So I am one of 5 people on the venture team of Invest Detroit. We have a portfolio of just about pushing 80 companies throughout the state of Michigan. Our investment thesis is basically to help early stage companies. So First Step Fund does a lot of pre-seeds, pre-revenue companies. Our typical investments check size for First Step Fund is $50,000. with additional follow-on of up to $100,000. And typically we get involved in round sizes of $150,000 to up to $500,000 for early stage pre-seed pre-revenue companies. And then we have the Detroit Innovate Fund, which we started just about a year and a half ago. We were kind of looking for companies going into their Series A, so raising a round of $2.5 million to $5 million, and that's how we kind of get involved there. And so we kind of like to invest with smart capital, not just providing dollars for these companies, but providing connections, providing different programs throughout the state that could be really beneficial to companies. So in that work, we help with a couple programs, such as Hacker Fellows. Hacker Fellows is actually a joint collaboration between Invest Detroit and Grand Circus, where we try to get recent computer science graduates from local universities to stay in the state of Michigan and work for tech startups. So last year was our pilot program with that. We had 15 fellows from different universities throughout the state, and they work for 11 companies throughout the state of Michigan today. We had such a resounding success our pilot year that we're continuing it this year. So the past few weeks, I've gone everywhere from the UP Michigan Tech to Oakland University earlier this week to help recruit graduating computer science majors looking to get involved in the tech startup scene here in Michigan. So that's just one of the programs that we help manage. We also do Accelerate Michigan. Accelerate Michigan is actually going on right now. It's one of the biggest pitch competitions in the state of Michigan. We give about $1 million in prize offerings. Last year, SkySpecs won. SkySpecs is a company out of Ann Arbor. They're working on a drone technology, mainly for industrial uses. So nowadays, you have big, construction projects where you need you to go inspect, whether it's bridges or columns or windmills, things of that nature. And as opposed to sending someone up there, they're using their technology, drones, to go up there that's able to automatically avoid any sort of occurrence. So if there's a big bird or if there's some sort of obstacle up there, the drone can self-detect it and avoid being hit or endangering its own life. So I mean that's one company that won Accelerate Michigan last year. So Accelerate Michigan is going on from today up until tomorrow. We have 55 different companies throughout the state of Michigan presenting and hoping to get $1 million in prize offerings. So those are just a few of the different programs that we help manage in the state. It's kind of what we do in the community. I would much rather just answer some questions that you might have when it comes to venture capital or financing for your startup. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and throw it at me, and I can answer to the best of my knowledge. So yeah. Any questions for financing it?
Is there a particular sector that you guys are looking to invest in?
So our funds are industry agnostic. So we have companies that are in the auto space. We have companies that are in consumer products. So we invest through all different industries. We don't have a specific focus. But I would say we are the most beneficial to companies in the manufacturing space, just because our managing director will manufacturing, clean tech space, energy space, simply because our managing directors have that sort of background. So their connections and their relationships are much, it's easy for them to leverage those sort of relationships and help our companies in those fields. So, no, industry agnostic, but we have particularly industries that we might be better in to better serve companies that we work with. Any other questions pertaining to if your company's looking to fundraise at all? At what point might it be beneficial for you guys to look for whether it's an institutional investor or an angel investor? Any questions surrounding that? Term sheets? Another question? Yeah, keep throwing it at me.
Okay. I'll take it back. So when you talk about, you said pre-seed, what exactly does that mean, and what amount is associated with that?
Right. So pre-seed, pre-revenue, they're basically interchangeable. So when we're talking about a pre-seed company, we're talking about a company that literally has a prototype of what they're working on. It's not commercialized just yet. Looking for money to maybe do some pilot programs to get some actionable data for the company so that they can begin to move forward in an actionable way. So that's kind of, it's really a vague word, vague term. There's no real meaning to it, but when you think of pre-seed, just think of pre-revenue, company that hasn't commercialized their product or service just yet, but looking to iterate, looking to get some very actionable milestones for themselves for the next 6 months, half a year.
So they have an actual product ready. It's not like
It all depends on the company. So it's even hard for me to answer what's the perfect price. At what point is my company ready to get financing? Because every company is sort of different. The different relationships that they have. We work with companies that might not necessarily have a product ready to go just yet, but they have a blueprint for it, and they've already spoken to potential customers and have letters of intent. So that's a huge green flag for an investor. Well, a company's already spoken to their potential customer. They have letters of intent, so when their product is ready to go, they have people already at the doorstep waiting to use that product. So those are the typical green flags that look appealing to us. But in terms of having an actual product and what it looks like to be ready for investment, it's very specific to the circumstances of that company. Any other questions that I might be able to help answer? Definitely don't want to take up too much time, but also want to be a resource however I can.
In working with the companies that you invest in, how do you like to connect them and be a resource to them and advise them as much as possible? How do you do that? How do you kind of manage that relationship?
Yeah, great question. So that's something, like I said, we have a portfolio of just about 80 companies for a 5-person team. So if you think about that, that's a lot of different companies that 5 people just have to manage in terms of understanding their progress, what things they might need help with, things of that nature. So in the year and a half that I've been at Invest Detroit, it's been one of my personal projects to kind of spearhead a portfolio management tool for us to use. So currently we're using Nutshell. Nutshell is actually one of our investments. They're a client relationship management tool based at Ann Arbor. So basically, in Nutshell, we have all the different companies that we're working with, whether it's the pipeline and portfolio. And then I've also kicked off this sort of quarterly company survey that I sent out to all our portfolio companies to kind of answer basic questions pertaining to their revenue, or if there are any partnerships that we should be abreast of, are there any big milestones that they're looking to complete in the next quarter, and how we can be beneficial that way. And then I also list a few things that we might be able to do for them. So such as introduce them to other investors in the area, or even in the Bay if they're trying to do a Series A, Series B sort of raise. Connect them with the different programs that we do, Accelerate Michigan, Hacker Fellows, and just things of that nature. Just trying to have open lines of communication, I think, is the most important piece. So whenever a company might feel that they do need some sort of help or assistance, that they have the catalyst to just pick up their phone or send me a quick email without feeling too reserved about that. You definitely want to be as transparent as open lines of communication as possible when it comes to working with other companies. So I guess there you go.
I have one last one. So I guess to get more granular, how does the pre-seed process work? I guess from the initial meeting on.
Okay. So yeah, I would say that we field company inquiries from either just referrals from other different investors, accelerators, incubators in the region that we have really strong ties to, or they kind of just find us at different events, or reach out to us via email. So from that point on, we definitely want to get a pitch deck and executive summary, have a better understanding of what the company's working on, the product or service that they're working on, and the problem. I think some big areas of focus for us when meeting for a company initially is basically the target size, or target market size. How big is the market that you're working in? Are there any big players in that market as well? And I guess what is the percentage that big player already has in the market? So basically just trying to figure out, is the market large enough for multiple players? And if the market's not mature enough, or not mature enough, if a big player hasn't matured well in a target market, why haven't they matured? What is the value proposition of the company that you're working on now that puts you in the very prime position to mature that market? So market sizing is a big thing for us, as well as the business model. We always want to understand how the company plans on making money. So whether you have a business to consumer play or business to business play, what exactly is your plan to not only get customers but retain the customers, and then what exactly is your acquisition cost for you to get a customer? How much are you spending in order to make that dollar back? Those are target market size, the business model, acquisition costs. Those are all pretty big things that we like to focus on in our initial meeting. And and we're very milestone oriented as well. So it's very rare that we decide we're going to invest in a company after an initial meeting. We try to create milestones for that company to achieve over the next few weeks, whether that's securing some letters of intent for potential customers or developing some sort of feature set that will make your product or service go that much further along. Then we kind of base how we feel about the entrepreneur and the company based on the progress they're able to make off those milestones from the initial meeting. So milestones are a really big thing for us. What are you able to achieve in whether it's a month or a 2-month timeline? And I guess what data are you able to, what data can we accrue from the entrepreneur and company based on your progress on those milestones? Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, so you're primarily a retail investment fund?
Can you repeat that?
So primarily you're a retail investment fund. How much of your fund do you think is allocated towards new tech?
New tech? I mean, I would say, when you say new tech, you mean just like new investments?
Yeah, new investments.
Okay, well, so the First Step Fund is meant to be an evergreen fund, so basically all the returns that we are able to accrue from our portfolio companies, our plan is to return that money back out to other companies to invest in. So like I said, we have about 70 companies in First Step Fund by itself. That's basically we actually finished up the life cycle of the fund. So we're in the process of fundraising to make First Step Fund that evergreen flow as well. So our goal is to do another 70, call it 80 companies for investments over the next 5 years once we finish fundraising. But in the case of Detroit Innovate, where we do a larger check size, our plan is to, over the next 5 years, have, I think, right around 15 or 20 companies that will invest in with follow-on capacity of $500,000 for each of those companies. So yeah, it really depends on which fund we're talking about and basically where we're on the progress of that. So yeah, I think over the next 3 years we're probably going to do another 10 to 15 investments out of the Detroit Area Fund. Well, thank you all for having me. I'm really excited to see the next few pitches. And feel free to reach out to me at any point. I'll be in the back. Actually, I have to head out to one of the Accelerate Michigan events, but if you want my business card, feel free to come to me in the back. I'll send it off to you. Thanks for listening to me.
All right, thanks, Seun. I always said that kid is wicked smart. That's what I always say. So without further ado, I'll let the real talent get up here. And first up will be Matt Visk of Retailspot. We'll have 10 minutes total, 5 minutes for the pitch and 5 minutes for the Q&A. So write down those questions, get them ready.
Hello everybody, how's everyone feeling?
Good.
We got energy in here, yeah.
Hey guys. Hello. My name's Matt. I'm a developer and designer for 10 years now.
And my name is Jules. I am also an engineer and designer. So who here would call himself an entrepreneur that has failed at something? We got some hands here. Come on. Raise them up high, be proud, come on. Yeah. So I'm in the same boat as well. And so our app is all about, so the big problem with selling something is just getting momentum and actually trying to sell our product. And our goal is to create an app that gives you the power to just sell anything as fast as possible. We help you market, manage your customers' orders. I need to slow down.
It's okay.
We help you market and manage your customers' orders, subscriptions, and shipments.
It's pretty exciting. We offer basically help anyone and everyone sell whatever it is that they have to sell like a professional. If you're thinking of selling on Amazon, you could be looking at a 25% fee for selling through them, and it doesn't really represent you as a professional business or salesperson. So we created a tool that helps you create your online store stress-free, and I can show you a little bit more about it. But first I'd like to tell you about my first entrepreneur project, Portfolio Lounge. site I started 2 years ago. This has a similar premise, except for it helps people create portfolios. Since then, we have 15,000 members, and a handful of which are paid members that either get more space or want to try the premium templates. So that kind of led us down this e-commerce path, which is today Retailspot. So I can show you a little bit of the app, and this basically helps anyone and everyone sell their stuff. So here is what you would see if you signed up. You'd be brought to a product page, which houses all your categories and products. You don't have to think too much about it. Whatever categories you add become part of your navigation on the store, which I can show you. I made the store in 10 minutes before we started. So here's the store as it sits. As you can see here, there's a few banners that kind of promote specific products and or categories. And then these products here listed below are all the products the owner or business owner would be selling. But they could also sell by category here. If a customer comes and wants coffee beans specifically, they click here on the left. We also you can sell subscription services. In today's day and age, if people are willing, they can use their credit cards to sign up for subscriptions, and then they are charged every month, week, or year, or even day, based on what the owner has set up. And I can show you a little bit more of this stuff on the administrative side. If I wanted to add a new product, I would click here. Click here, it would add product. And then you can just add any of your photos of that product, or if you're on your phone, you can take a photo and it goes right there, straight to the new product. So let's say I add these random images. And then I would give the product a name. Coffee beans, as well as a price. It won't display it on your store until it's ready to go, so it waits for you to have a price and name, a photo. And then once you add that and a small description or so, maybe a couple different varieties of sizes, also track inventory on those different variations. It shows up in your store and it's ready to go. You're ready to sell to anyone and everyone. I think I just added new coffee beans here. So I would go here. You can see the photos, real simple. I'm not sure how we're doing on time.
15 seconds.
Anyway, the user would add any one of these items to their cart. They can increase quantity here, and everything updates synchronously. And then the user would check out, and upon successful checkout, the money would transfer to your bank account in 2 days. You can issue refunds, invoices, and pretty much anything you'd like to add.
Good.
I think that's about it for Retailspot. Thank you for listening. Yes?
So when a customer comes into the site, can they look at it on Android, iOS, the web? So do you support the different screen sizes and all that?
It's a web application, so as long as your phone has a browser like Safari or Chrome or any sort of web browser,
Right.
you can view your store with any device.
Okay. And it automatically compress everything that I see on it.
Yeah, I can show you an example.
Do you have websites that I can bring up on my phone?
Yeah, it's, well, this website I just set up would
Okay.
be nvcoffee.retailspot.com. can also point your real domains to the website, to your store. So you can shrink it down for you. There's somewhat a tablet view, and you can shrink it down even further. It goes into a mobile view. It keeps the nav nice and simple. On the left side, it won't be too much different from what you see on the web.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Where's your revenue
Where's my revenue?
on this?
For Retailspot, currently we don't charge a monthly fee. We just started running, or we just launched a week and a half ago. Apart from Retailspot, Portfolio Lounge is bringing in a little bit as well. So we're looking to see increasing revenue in the very near future.
So when you, if let's say as a customer I want this, I don't have to pay a monthly fee to have this.
Right. There is, however, a very small, very competitive transaction fee on each successful transaction, 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction.
How does that look in the market?
Looks good. Looks great. I mean, you can't really go. I haven't seen much lower than that. So,
What do you have that other people that are doing the same thing? What do you have specifically that they don't have? Is it ease of use? Is it attractiveness? Is it?
I think the motto or the homepage sums it up. It's create your online store stress-free. It's basically we've looked at plenty of different online e-commerce setup platforms. They're hard to use. You don't really want to use them, but you have to. So this is more of a straightforward approach, more enjoyable.
Ease of use. Quick.
Yes. Very, very quick.
You don't have to create your own website.
Like this website you see here, created with just the pictures on my computer, and I did it. Started at 10 minutes before we were supposed to start. So I have others I can show, but I mean, they're more for testing. Actually, yes.
How does Retailspot market your site, or do you just provide the hosting platform?
How does Retailspot market to my site?
How do you market your site?
Oh, how do we market the site?
Or do you just
We
provide
haven't
the hosting
started
platform?
marketing just yet, but a first approach I think would be Google AdWords, which has a good bang for your buck, I would say, in terms of cost per click. So we'll try that, and then there's definitely other routes we can explore. I think the Facebook application, working within that to grant users more options or more products in the future is a good way to spread the word without paying anything. So there's plans coming up.
Okay.
One more question.
I thought I saw a question in the back. I'm not.
No, he asked a
Okay.
question.
If that's it, thank you for your time. I appreciate any word of mouth about Retailspot. I'm sure anyone here might know someone that could use something like this. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Next up, we have Greg Austic of PhotosynQ. Very interesting product.
Sorry, I run the city. I'm going to be talking about non-city things. Don't freak out. So John Deere spends billions of dollars every year to create a network of tractors, sensors, servers, and crop models to give corn and soy farmers real-time intelligence. And what I mean by real-time intelligence is information about their operations, where's my tractor, when does it need fuel, being able to identify disease early in the field, estimating yield, and just in general being able to lower costs and increase yield based on very time and location specific information. So real-time intelligence is a key part of what people mean when they talk about precision agriculture. So as an example of a precision ag sort of solution, this is a good example. So when you drive a combine across the field, you get a yield map because you get real-time continuous yield monitoring. So this represents the field, and the yield on that field, you can see low yield here and high yield here. So what they actually do now is they take this map, and the next year when they're applying fertilizer or nitrogen on that same field, they'll actually apply more nitrogen in places with lower yield and less in places with more yield. It's a great example of a precision ag solution where we're able to save costs for the farmer and increase yield using data. So how does somebody like John Deere do this? Well, it's solution creation. It's just like any industry, right? They have to identify a problem, right? We're over-applying fertilizer. Then they're going to identify a solution. Well, we've got tractors out there. We have yield monitors. We can use that data, right? All that sort of stuff. So how do they do that? How do they go through this process to get ultimately to a simple implementation to the farmer? They do all this stuff within the company, right? This is a whole bunch of scientists and a whole bunch of agronomists, a whole bunch of people doing a lot of work, which is very expensive. But that's how they do it. And they have to do it that way because farmers have 10,000 things to do every day, and they need a push-button solution to problems as much as possible. So that kind of sucks. And here's why it sucks. Because the whole process is proprietary. So the development process from start to finish, by the time it gets to the farmer, is really just a big black box solution. The farmer doesn't know anything about the development. And every different company, if it's John Deere, Monsanto, or anyone else, they're all creating their own little proprietary solutions. They're not talking to each other. And this type of research is significantly advanced by collaboration and putting data together rather than splitting data up. So that inhibits collaboration and also slows down research. Because they have to do all of that work within the company, the end product ends up being very expensive, which means that, like, farmers who aren't the richest can't afford it, and they don't get sort of these precision ag solutions, and therefore their yields are lower. And then finally, because it costs a lot of money to do all that work, the markets that these guys will enter and create solutions for have to be really large and consolidated. So it's really corn and soybeans and a couple out in the US and maybe in Europe. And that's about it. So there's all this technological change, and it's happening really only a very small portion of the market. So who is going to spend billions of dollars, right, on markets which are highly distributed or low profit, even though they're potentially quite large in number? Right? No one's going to do that except for us. Who's crazy enough to do that? So PhotosynQ, which is what we're building, is a flexible platform so that any community can both create and implement their own real-time intelligence solution. So our goal is to really bring the power of precision ag to these fragmented, underserved markets. So we actually believe that the knowledge and skills to create these precision ag solutions already exist within the communities of practice. So there's already scientists who know how to solve complex problems. There's educators with an army of students interested in collecting data who can help refine and validate. There's farmers and ag professionals who have the context and the on-the-ground knowledge to be able to ultimately implement these solutions. So best of all, each of these groups, from the scientist to the farmer, is independently motivated, right, to do their portion of this solution creation chain. They have independent reasons why they want to do this stuff. So our job as PhotosynQ is really just to create a framework on which the community, all these people, can be successful both in their own personal goals, but also in the larger goal of creating solutions, from research to refinement to implementation. So what is that framework? Well, it includes a bunch of sensors. So that's our multi-spec sensor, which is sort of our flagship product. We'll add other sensors. It's all open source, so other people can add other things to the platform. We've had proof of concept on early identification of disease and yield estimation. Pretty neat. We could do a whole talk on that. But then there's also the platform. So that's an Android app which connects to the device. That pushes to then a web-based platform where you can analyze your data, share results, and identify communities of interest to sort of create these collaborative solutions. So instead of trying to sell like a sleek-looking black box, we're really trying to give people a toolkit and then connect them to colleagues around the world so they can develop their own methods and solve their own problems in their own communities. That's the goal. So, why can't we just stick with big ag, who's been addressing most of the increases in productivity in agriculture for the last 50 years? Why don't we just stick with them? The reason is they're not going fast enough, right? So there is a gap in agricultural productivity as compared to growth rate in the world. And not going to be filled by corn and soybeans. Corn and soybeans have already benefited from most of the advances in technology relating to agriculture. That gap is going to be led by minor crops in low margin markets where there's potential yield gains of 3 to 5 times as compared to corn and soybeans where the yield gains are relatively small at this point. So our goal is to create a platform to speed up the pace of research and ultimately improve yields and lower costs for farmers in these markets where solutions might be different in every area and in every market. So we're not new at this, doing it for a couple years at this point. We've collected 160,000 data points in 15 countries on 10 plus crops. We've got proof of concept on a couple of different things, almost 700 members. We've hand assembled and shipped 200 devices, multi-specs. We've got some investment. So we do have a little bit of proof of concept. And now our goal is to get from 200 devices to 10,000 devices. So we are hiring. We are also in a completely open source project, hardware, software, and data. So if you're interested, if you're looking for stuff to do in your off time, we would absolutely love contributors. We have Ruby, Java. I mean, if you do it, it's probably in there. It's a big platform. We're also running a Kickstarter in the next 2 months for the device if you're interested in that. Otherwise, that's my contact. How long have you been building this platform? Concept is about 3 years old. We've been actively building the platform for probably 2.5 years.
And what is this device that you expect?
Sure. It's a little handheld device which measures photosynthesis and a variety of other plant-related measures. So you clamp it onto a leaf, and it flashes a bunch of lights and does a bunch of science. And it tells you how photosynthetically active the leaf is, how much stress it's under, potentially where that stress is coming from. So this was developed in a lab which studies photosynthesis.
Is it proprietary information on how to build this device?
It's all open source.
How do you measure the accuracy and how accurate is this technology?
The accuracy?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
how do you measure this?
Absolutely. So there, in terms of the actual hardware,
yeah.
There's a lot of devices that exist in the scientific community which measure similar outputs. So we have sort of standards, and a lot of these devices have been around for 30 years. So we have kind of a lot of standards to compare against, which we have compared. We have our first paper, academic paper, coming out in a couple months, which does those comparisons. We've compared to the Minolta SPAD meter, which has been around for 20 years. We've compared to the Lycor 6400, which is a photosynthesis sensor that's been around for 35 years. So you have sort of industry standard comparisons. But there's actually a lot of things that we can do that those guys can't do, which is a whole discussion again.
Given that's an open source project, do you plan to monetize?
Yes. So, and I think actually that's the big challenge from my perspective is how do we maintain sort of an open nature in what we do, but still generate revenue? And if we can figure that out, the world will be a much better place. So it's part of what we're trying to do. We think that if we can build this community of people creating ideas, right, asking questions, and then other people collecting data and addressing solutions, that there's going to be a need for transactions between members of that community. I may want to pay you to collect data, for example, right? We actually already have some of that going on. We would take a cut of that transaction, as an example. You, as an academic, may want to keep your data private for a year or two before you publish. You would charge that for that service. So there's components in there without changing the nature, the open nature of the project that we can implement to generate.
Are there guidelines for the people collecting the data? Does it have to be scientists, or is it just they hire whoever they want?
No, absolutely no guidelines. No. Yes. So
how reliable is your data if there are no guidelines?
Yeah. So anyone can buy a device and anyone can contribute. Now you could create a project, right? Let's say you're trying to address, you're studying a disease in soybeans. You create a project. You could say, I only want to invite certain people to contribute to my project, right? In the future, we'll have a rating system similar to something like eBay or Amazon, and you'll say, all right, I'm only going to accept people who have more experience than 5,000, like higher than 5,000 experience points, which means they've collected X number of data points, they've contributed to X number of projects, right? So we'll have a rating system so that people who have more experience then will get paid more for collecting data. So, yeah.
I guess my question is more about the randomization of data, because obviously we're not going around inspecting every single plant.
Sure.
So how are they coordinating that?
Yeah, that's up to the, it's kind of like running a Kickstarter, but it doesn't run itself. If you create a project on a platform, it's not like, I mean, you know, you gotta hustle, right? You gotta get out there, you gotta figure out who's gonna collect your data, you have to be in continuous contact with them, you have to develop people who are gonna collect quality data, get rid of people who are not collecting quality data. So, but that being said, it's a whole lot easier to collect 50,000 data points here than to hire 10 grad students and ship them all around the world. So, right.
So you're having basically the farmers decide whether or not the data that's being collected is quality or not?
Yeah, well, so the farmers are probably collecting data on their own farm, right? So that's controlled. A researcher might be interested in data across many farms. So he's going to have to pay a little bit more attention about who's part of the project and how they're collecting. But we've learned an immense amount this summer about how to manage data quality. And there's a lot of components to that, some of which are human. You know, the human has to make sure that it's good. Some of which are automated, where the computer can identify low-quality data points, identify cheaters and stuff like that. So there's a layer of ways to make sure that data is good. Yeah.
I'm thinking about viticulture, and there's a lot of secrecy with regards to how we're growing these grapes, why they're doing this, why they're doing that. Are people nice enough to want to share their data? If they have something that's absolutely knocking it out in $1 billion soybean industry, are they going to want to tell somebody that?
Yeah, that is probably the single most important question. It's not just true for farmers, it's also for researchers, even though they're supposed to publish the research. They also hate sharing. Everyone hates sharing. Everyone loves the results of sharing, but no one likes to share. That's going to be a process that's slow generational change. I don't think that kids today are going to give a crap about sharing in 20 years. I think they have a different perspective on data. There are some ways to deal with that, though. You have to bring those people in, then they'll feel secure, and then they can start to share. So one way to do it with farmers is to anonymize data. So sure, you know, all your data is public, but it's anonymized up to the county level or up to the state level, right? You just have an ID that only you know. One way to do it with the researchers is say, fine, you can have private data for 2 years or 3 years. And then after that it becomes public, that gives us sufficient time to publish. So we're trying to identify solutions for that, for sort of the constituent categories and figure it out. But I think people will share when they see the benefits of sharing. They will.
Can you give me an example where there was a specific problem? It's maybe premature, but can you give me an example where there was a particular problem, it moved to a solution, and the data successfully took it towards a solution? Is there something out there that we can?
Yeah, so most of the stuff has been done with us in collaboration with other groups. It's not something that's been done solely by the community at this point. Those 100,000 data points they're not like all us, but a lot of it imports stuff as well.
One more question.
Yes, sir. The best example is there's a disease in soybeans called sudden death syndrome, which is a root-based disease. And you can't see it until the soybean gets to flowering, and then all of a sudden it dies. If you don't catch it early, you lose the whole field, basically. And it started out in the south and slowly moved north. So early detection of this, there's really no way to detect it early at this point. So we've been able to show with our device that we can detect it, potentially up to a week or two before anything else, which means that then the farmer could apply a treatment to deal with SDS before it destroys the field. That's a good example. Now, we just had proof of concept for that this summer. So next summer, we're sort of take it to the next step. So we're still very early stage on that. But that's a good example of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, I'm just a general question. How did you come to the realization of this particular problem? Like, what experience did you have that allowed you to figure out, I want to disrupt this industry?
My starting point was I want to create a successful open source business. So that was my starting point. I met with a professor whose starting point was I want to create a low-cost photosynthesis sensor. and from that, we kind of, it developed into what it is. I also grew up on a farm, so that colors me a little.
Next we got Ron from GolfCliks, a social network for golfers.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ron Schoenherr. I'm co-founder of GolfCliks. And this is a social lifestyle networking site for golfers. And while not as high-minded as the farming industry and everything else, which was a great presentation, by the way. So this is a 5-minute pitch deck that we did for our site, which we built. So we're going to talk a little bit about the platform and what GolfCliks does. It's essentially a micro-social networking site that we built focused on the golf industry. Now what's important to note, we could have built this platform for virtually any kind of activity, sport, hobby, whatever it might be. We chose golf due to the demographic for that particular industry, and we knew that there was a good opportunity for us there. So we have a social networking component that is private in nature, secure, safe, where groups of individuals can connect. There's a scorecard application that is part of that platform. All of this feeds into individual playing profiles for our golfers. So you can track your performance, statistics, where you played, when you played. And then finally, there's a golf deals component to this. And this is, golfers in general spend an awful lot of money on golf every year. And it's everything from greens fees, equipment, travel, food and beverage, lodging. So there's a huge market here. So saving money on it is a very important part of what we've done with this platform. Now when we originally started this development on this site, it was really designed to focus on the social aspects, keeping a lot of the golf talk and communication that you have with your friends out of your corporate inboxes and off of your phone. Once we started development on this, we kept thinking we needed ways to have levers of engagement throughout the platform. So how do we keep people coming back? Because it's not enough to say, hey, we're going to do just social networking, which is being done by Facebook and other sites. How do we keep people coming back? So we started to build components and modules into this that would keep people coming back to the site. So regarding our team, we've got a long history. This team that put this product together, we've been together for nearly 10 years. We previously launched a company called Seun, which was a local consulting company out of Brighton. Started that back in 2005. We were on Inc. magazine's 500 fastest growing private companies for 3 years consecutively. And we were one of Michigan's top companies to watch back in 2012, I believe that was. In 2006, we introduced another software application called Metrics Dashboards. This is an analytics product that aggregates data from different management and monitoring tools into one central view. This is a product that still exists, and it's really that analytics background that we've leveraged in our GolfCliks application. We successfully sold Extend just a little over a year ago to another consulting organization out of California. So this team has a lot of experience with starting businesses from the ground up and all the way to selling it. So let's talk a little bit about the market for the golf industry. First and foremost, as you'll see here, we've got a 10-year run rate and some projections for golf courses and country clubs. And what you'll see here is this is a very large business. This is, in 2015, we're looking at almost $23 billion in revenues just from greens fees at these golf courses across the United States. There are about 27 million golfers in the United States today. There's over 15,000 golf courses. And this is a $70 billion industry. And this encompasses everything. I mean, this is the golf courses, equipment, manufacturers, the PGA Tour, but this is a very large market for us to target. There was $11.3 billion generated in greens fees last year, and that's based on 455 million total rounds played in the United States. Golf equipment sales accounted for about $3.4 billion in sales. These are the two primary avenues that we're leveraging as we monetize our site. So let's talk about our competition a little bit. Because we do some very unique things as it relates to this platform and all these different things, we found that we really competed on a lot of different levels. So from a social perspective, you know, you get your traditional social networking sites, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, and they all have groups and micro groups that you can speak to. That's great, but they're really just predominantly a social-only kind of site. So where they really lack levers of engagement is there's not a scorecard application, there's no real fundamental funding or monetization of those sites outside of online advertising. And then we've got some 3 other companies up here, Groupon, GolfNow, and Group Golfer. Both the first and latter companies operate on a voucher model, which is similar to what we're doing. But these sites really lack social engagement. So these are just ways to push out advertising and promotions to golfers. And then the last 3 companies I've highlighted up here are scorecard applications. And they're great. They're really robust ways to track and do electronic scoring. But they really haven't monetized these scorecard applications. So outside of using that application when on the course is great, but when you're done, there's really no reason to be back into that site. The thing that makes us unique is we encompass all 3 of those areas. So we've got social networking, advertising, a way to really monetize the site. We've got a scorecard application. And so let's talk about the business model real quick. As the golfer, we start to interact with the site. We've got our friends, we've got the scorecard application, we've got information that's being fed into my profile. And all of this information feeds through the scorecard application, ultimately into my profile, and all of this creates a high level of user activity among all these different modules that we have in the platform. What does that mean for us? We take all of that data that all of the individuals and groups of people are generating, we feed that into our analytics platform, and we're able to share that with our service providers, the golf courses, equipment manufacturers, retailers. What this does is let us create very targeted advertising that goes out to a very select group. I know who you are, I know how often you play golf, I know where you're playing, I know how much you spend. So instead of guessing at what you might be looking for from a promotional perspective, we already have a pretty good idea of what you want. So when we serve up ads, they're relevant ads. They're based on greens fees, pro shop, food and beverage, and ultimately the last step is the golfer sees this in real time in their handheld device. They can see what promotions are being pushed to them, and they can take advantage and save on any one of these items here. So this is a very sound, proven model, but where we really enhance it is by the analytics that we bring into it. So from an adoption revenue, we've already figured out where we need to scale to our business from a user perspective, and we need 6.9 million users over a 5-year period. That pushes us up right around a $90 million a year business. And then we got 2 primary sources of revenue. It's the voucher revenue, which accounts for almost $47 million, and about $40 million for advertising. That'll be your traditional online click-through type of advertising as well as vouchers. And again, I said we have to get to about 6.9 million users. That's a little over 25% market penetration. And then we have to capture about 50% of the golf courses in order to hit those and scale to those numbers. Okay, I think for the first time I did this in 5 minutes or close to it. Over? All right. Wonderful. Thank you. Questions?
So how are you trying to get your first users of this application? Is there any charge for it?
Good. I'm glad you asked that. So it is a free application to golfers. Where we make the money is with the service providers, the people who are advertising. It's an 80-20 split on that. So on average, any offers that go out to the golfers, 80% goes to the service provider and 20% back to us. Getting users, obviously word of mouth with other golfers, but we did 2 soft launches at the golf shows earlier this spring in Novi and West Michigan. And so we've signed up, we've had over 300 people already sign up into the site. We're still working, one of the reasons I'm here tonight is because we're still working to fill out our development team, looking for good talent around the UI, UX aspects of what we're doing. Does that answer that? Is that it? Questions? Yeah. Ben? Well, thank you for your time.
I'll ask one. What do you see your biggest challenges being as far as acquiring new active users?
I think I don't really feel like we have a challenge outside of continuing to add additional features. When I talk about levers of engagement, we've got a roadmap of features that we want to keep adding into the platform. It's never going to end, right? We're going to want to add in new functionality that keeps people engaged. But getting the users is going to be fairly simple. The better the offers are, the more targeted and relevant they are to the users. I think that's going to be a big driver for what brings people into the site, and then they'll just naturally use it for other aspects as well.
Have you contacted Facebook to see if they can help identify groups of golfers on Facebook that you can target your ads for them to sign up?
We have. I mean, we've leveraged Facebook early on. One of the biggest problems I think we solve is that I don't really believe that a lot of that paid advertising that is done on Facebook is very effective. There's a lot of fraud that takes place with fake accounts. It doesn't take much. You run a couple ads and throw a couple $100 at Facebook, and all of a sudden you start seeing profiles that you're going, pretty sure this isn't our target audience. And, so that's a little suspect, but most of our advertising will be done via golf shows, the golf courses themselves. The more that we're out and doing deals with the golf courses, they have their own community list that we mail to. That's a big piece of it for us. Yes?
So is your intention with the ad revenue that the sponsors, companies, manufacturers, things like that would pay premium for that extra targeted capability? Like, whereas Facebook, it's generic, maybe key on a few terms, but whereas with this, you know so much more about them.
Right. We don't look at charging them a premium, since if we're doing the typical voucher model, the discounted offer, what we are looking to do is provide those service providers their own portal, and they can, based upon whatever criteria they want, at any moment, they can customize their offers. They can say, you know what, it's Wednesday afternoon, we're really light, I want to target any users within a 25-mile radius who have played this type of course. One of the great things about the analytics and making that available is we tell the golf course owners and operators, it's one thing if you know about the golfers who are on site at your course, you know, because they've got their email list, they know when they played there. We get to tell them what they're doing when they're off property, right? Where are they spending? They played 10 rounds at one of your competitors down the road and they were paying X, Y, Z. Here's the frequency of what they've done. So this is really, and we hope to take this over time and branch out into other activities and areas of interest. So any group that has, you know, that need to keep their communication in a small group of people who really care. Could you imagine talking about golf on Facebook? I have 500 friends out there and I want to talk about our round of golf with 5 people out there. We'll get run out of Facebook pretty fast. You know, so we try to keep it relevant to the group of people who are talking your friends. So it's a micro social networking site. I think each group's probably going to have 25 to 50 people, but as you start to branch out, you know, if I've got a group of 25 friends that I play golf with once a year, they've got a group of people that they play with, so on and so forth. So it just becomes this viral, hey, we can save, we can communicate. It's an easy way to, you know, engage with people who share the same passion about an activity that you can. This could be hunting and fishing, it could be anything. And we hope to expand it in that way in the future. Yeah. Thank you.
Next up we got Rashad for small and local businesses.
Sorry, this isn't my computer. Just drag it over. Good evening, everybody. My name is Rashad Brown. I'm a co-founder of Pantheon. Very early stage. I actually just got started this summer with some friends, but we're pretty motivated to get this idea going. So basically, we're trying to solve a problem that is addressing a particular divide amongst business success on the internet. And the basic premise is this: is that in this particular age, internet and social media presence is obviously very important for building clout in your company in terms of building your customers and maintaining good relationships with them. But I would argue that in this current platform that we've established, the larger entities have kind of dominated the smaller ones, because let's look at it. Facebook is a classic example. They've gotten a lot of criticism recently for changing their algorithm around. So, like, if you have a business and excuse me, it seems democratic because everybody can make a post and it can appear on the feed, but they've changed the algorithm where it prioritizes your closer friends and pages that just get a lot of engagement. And they measure engagement by likes and clicks. So in that example, like, your local eateries really aren't going to appear in your newsfeed for two main reasons. One, for two main reasons. One is just that they're not going to have the time and capital to make consistent, engaging posts with people. And second, they may not have the money and may not see the return and interest for them to put money to have their posts available on this newsfeed. So they're essentially invisible. So what we're trying to come in and try and fight that. Like, this isn't a new scenario where larger entities overpower smaller ones, but we look at history and we see that we've seen that people just with less resources come together and pool their resources to form a collaborative, to collaborate with each other and form cooperatives. So we're trying to take that. We're trying to take that spirit and put it into the 21st century. So what we've come up with is not necessarily a social network, but a collaborative network that's designed for small and local businesses, organizations, and entrepreneurs to kind of come together and work together to build initiatives in their community and creating a unique channel so that users can see what's going on in their community instead of just seeing what HBO and CNN are showing. So it's like making a niche network, but the cool thing is it's very scalable. It's not something that'll work just for Detroit or just for Flint. It'll work for any smaller communities that want to just establish a more direct connection to what's going on around them. So we basically do this by giving these businesses value from two different perspectives. One, increasing their engagement with neighboring businesses and customers, but also giving them a tool set to increase their profits and reduce costs with greater convenience. And I'll show you how this is going on. Basically, we just want to collaborative enterprise what Uber has done for ride sharing, so just make it digitize it and make it a lot more efficient. So this works. It's basically a triple-sided platform. You have businesses, you have consumers, and you have huge product distributors. As a single business, you have access to all the features Pantheon can give you, which is a universal loyalty rewards program. You'll be able to post promotions and initiatives on the app. And we have analytics that will show this engagement from users and see if they're checking out your promotions and initiatives or using your reward systems, and they'll give you suggestions on what you should do for you to get more engagement from your users. And another aspect is purchasing directly from distributors. you will be able to look at different distributors that will give you, you'll be able to buy in bulk, basically, from different products from different distributors. So it also gives the distributors a way to kind of advertise to businesses. But as the real secret sauce to Pantheon is really doing this with other people. So you can do that all by yourself, and there's other products that do that, but as Pantheon is trying to allow cross-promotion, so it's taking this user data and saying, hey, well, this person that goes to this corner store is also going to the bowling alley, to this bowling alley down there. So it's taking that and saying, like, maybe you should just do some cross deals. So businesses that may not be able to afford, just giving discounts all the time, may be able to see a increase in their revenue if they're working with other people to make deals. And also another option we're giving is group buying. So taking the classic example of making buying groups and people coming together and purchasing things in bulk, now they can do this, on their mobile phone, looking at different businesses that also need packages or whatnot, buying things in bulk. And also group advertisements and allowing them to share things externally to different social media, but they all come in together as one kind of post, so you get to see. They'll all put their money together, put a post on Facebook, promotes it, but it'll show different aspects of what's going on in Detroit, for example. So that's the main thing for for businesses. Consumers basically just get access to the loyalty card. They get all the businesses in the directory and the list of the promotions and initiatives going on. And distributors have their profile that showcases what products they are available for businesses to buy in bulk. And the cool thing I think about this is that they may be able to get additional customers to buy from them in bulk that they may have otherwise never would have thought of because they didn't have the capital to buy such huge things in quantity. But if there are other people nearby that want the same thing, then they'd be able to do that. I'm getting kind of, how much time was it?
You got 30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay. So I'm free to ask questions later, but in terms of the business model, it can be seen kind of complicated in terms of all the mutual interactions going on between the three parties in the platform. But honestly, it really just boils down to the benefits that each party is getting: analytics and customer engagement tools for the businesses, a greater market reach for distributors, and consumers getting access to seeing what's going on in their community, a more contextual version of different events. And the monetary flow is charging businesses a annual fee. We're actually still going between annual and monthly. So basically a fee for them to be subscribed into, and then also distributors having a freemium plan where they get free advertising basically, but then we use a brokerage fee for optional e-commerce, and potentially if they want to boost their posts, we could set up advertising for the distributors. And I can go over, if people want to know about my future, this is a very early stage, but I have a timeline that we want to establish. I want to get a product out by fall of next year, at least a beta to test with people. And I'll stop here. Thank you, Josh. Thanks. Any questions?
So earlier in your presentation, you said that a lot of local businesses don't really have the catalyst to use social media, whether it's because they don't have money or they just don't have the resources to keep engaged. I guess what do you think will make them engage more with your platform, given they're already not that engaged with social media?
Right. So what I aim to do is with this platform is show them that I'm going to try to make it basically incredibly easy. Just tell them what deals that they want. They'll type it in, and it'll basically magically appear. They don't have to worry about kind of consistently making status updates and whatnot. It's really just focusing on what products they want to showcase. And the beauty is really just kind of like working with other businesses around them. So it's not, they can kind of form groups amongst each other and kind of brainstorm amongst each other what they want to do. So you don't really have to like hire like a social media team or anything. You can just work with like your other people like in your area. Even that's not necessarily in your area, depending if you guys have common interests. So it's really just about finding people with common interests, making something special for those people that have those same interests, and it's just all on one platform.
So follow-up question on that, I guess, what's your plan of attack to get those local businesses on board? Is it reaching out to local chamber commerces? Is it working for different neighborhood coalitions that have all that access to different stores? Or I guess what's the launch strategy?
So even though I'm still like, I'm trying to brainstorm and figure out how to do my market reach, the main thing that I'm thinking right now is that since this is kind of attacking the problem in a way that nobody's really done before, I kind of have to develop a beta product, get a few business owners to use it, and then I get to validate that model. So once I can validate that this is working amongst 5 or 6 businesses, and actually I have anecdotal evidence of another company, it's all the way in Portland, it's called Supportland. They basically have a lot of businesses within Portland, and it's working there, so I basically just, since they're only in Portland, I have a lot of geography to work, outside of there and test it there. And as long as I can show that it's generating engagement amongst the customers in there, just have it grow organically, start local, then regional, and then go for national.
So is this going to be like a website?
It's a mobile app, but it wants to be mobile focused.
Okay, so how would the consumers know about that site?
Consumer, basically, we want to talk to the businesses and then have them promote the app. So once they walk in, they'll say like, hey, do you have this? And then the cool thing is they really want people to download the app, because if they download the app and you get this loyalty reward system going, it's one thing to have rewards and show that, but there's also, it's a way to mine the data and figure out what your users are interested in. And then if they're doing that in multiple locations and you aggregate that, you can do creative things with it and do, special stuff with it. So that's how
there's something similar to what you're saying that already exists. Are you familiar with that?
Which one?
Gmart ads.
Gmart
ads.
I haven't heard of Gmart ads. The closest thing I've heard of is FlyTag, which is an Ann Arbor-based company that does reward systems and Supportland. In Portland, what's
the name of that?
Supportland.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it's Portland based.
No, the one you said that was in
Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
FlyTag. But FlyTag is just it's basically just a universal loyalty card. It's not trying to make any cross promotions or get people to see the connection between things. It's just rewards. But I'm interested though if you have any more information on.
Well, about Gmart, it's pretty much the same. I mean, it's the format that you're saying is the same about connecting the businesses together. So as a collective, they keep the referral in their collective.
I see. Okay. So I'd have to do more research on that, but I guess another distinguishing thing between that is that I'm a triple platform, so I'm trying to connect distributors as well. Right. Okay. So that's one thing. But yep.
I was interested in saying you can do like group buying, or you intend to do group buying for the company. So any one of those pieces, like 3 businesses and 2 consumers can group buy something for that mutual.
So yes and no, like how I want to start off with the beta, I just want to allow businesses to work with each other, but I actually have a grand vision that I want to work. I want it to be really modular where it could just work with just the individuals can come together and work in group buy. That's really the plan, but right now I just want to start off with businesses because it's just more of this just makes more economic sense to start off with revenue, and then as I build the product, people can make sub markets within them and do special stuff within that.
So it's also hard to get people to work together.
Yeah, I mean, in your instance, it's a lot harder because it's sharing information.
Right.
But with this, it's not that we're not necessarily giving product secrets. It's really just particularly for smaller companies that are not making as much money as they used to. If I can show them that they'll make more money by working together, all I have to do is just validate that. So. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thanks, Rashad. And last but not least, we have Alertly, Steve.
I'm Steve, and I've got a question for you. With the amount and complexity of data these days, how do you stay on top of your business in real time? And here's what I mean. How do you let a tech know as soon as a jet engine isn't performing very well? This is actually a really important problem. Once you know, you can get the parts where they need to be so that your team can fix it when the plane lands. You can keep a small problem, like burning a tiny bit more fuel, from becoming a big and million-dollar problem. Or consider this. Suppose you run an operations team. How do you find out when server traffic or response times start going downhill, but before your customers complain? Every ops team already has graphs and reports, but how are they supposed to get anything else done if you're constantly staring at a chart? Or what if you're a sales manager? Part of your job is knowing when anyone on your team is within 15% of their goals, so that you can congratulate or assist. Today, you do this by looking for outliers in your sales reports, if you even have the time. Why do you have to spend over an hour a day reading through reports? Shouldn't your systems just send you a text message when someone from the East Coast team blows past their goals, or someone from the West Coast team is falling way short? Or imagine you run a series of department stores. How does your purchasing manager automatically find out when one of your stores is kind of low on umbrellas and a lot of rain is forecasted? If they knew, they would order more. This situation requires alerting based on data from both your internal systems as well as a weather forecast. And it just isn't possible with most inventory software. Or even better, in addition to alerting your purchasing manager, we can just tell your system to automatically issue a reorder PO to your preferred umbrella vendor. So today, if I want to monitor my business, what are my options? Well, I might use a report, but there's one little problem. Honestly, who looks forward to reading reports? What am I supposed to do when I need to urgently react and not just wait for when my next report batch comes out? What a colossal waste of time. I have to log in somewhere and actively read through a stack of reports just to find out whether it was worth my time to read through today's stack of reports. I will frequently find that there's nothing interesting going on today. Or even worse, I think that today's reports were a waste of time, but I missed a critical piece of information. It feels like this whole process is something a computer could do better. So what are my other options? Well, you could code it yourself, but we all know how that goes. Once built, the end result is probably pretty inflexible, and you're going to have to spend all of your time working on change requests. And let's be real, you have better things to worry about. Enter Alertly, your data monitoring and alerting assistant. Why waste weeks or months of your precious time? Connecting with us is a breeze. It's a lot quicker and easier, and you could have been done in under an hour. Alertly is a software service with a UI and APIs that enables you to constantly scan data and notifies you when important thresholds are met. We find simple issues and complex outliers. We have a first-class user interface as well as a complete set of APIs. Here's how it works. Our APIs and user interface allow you to quickly and easily define your lists of data. You or your business users create simple or complex rules on those lists, and you assign relevant schedules. You batch, upload, or continuously stream your data, and you choose how to be notified when important thresholds have been met. So we're looking for organizations that need this kind of functionality, that have or will have data and need to stay on top of their important events, who would potentially be willing to be a beta customer. Thank you so much for your time. Questions? One here and then.
In your customer discovery, what is your target customer? What do you discover?
So that's a little bit of a story. This project was actually born out of conversations in the enterprise segment, where they already have big, expensive business intelligence solutions. And one of the common complaints from CIOs is, why the hell do I have to keep reading through these reports? Can't you just tell me when there's something wrong? Well, yes, you can. Why aren't we? I don't know, let's do it. So a lot of expensive BI tools don't do this right now. And we looked down market, mid-market, small end market. They're not even using these reporting tools. So how do they have any opportunity to do anything like this? So in terms of customer discovery and positioning, we found that we're kind of in between something at the extreme low end, like an if this then that, where it's just a very simple action trigger done, and the high end business intelligence systems that are complex and don't really alert you anyway. So yes, sir.
So how easy is it to load data into your system?
One more time.
How does it work with the data compatibility? Do you load data? Do you have an API to load data, or your data?
Yes, we have an API to load data. At this stage, you can either batch upload or you can stream the data. In future iterations, when we're working with more the paranoid enterprise or security conscious enterprise, we also have architected in our roadmap the ability to reach into your systems as well and scan the data that way. So a couple approaches, but today it's stream it in. Yes, sir?
How are you reaching into your customers' data? What's that look like? Is it a query? Is it how are you going in? Are you going into relational databases? What do you do about it?
Right, so that's roadmapped. The exact implementation, we'll figure out, but as soon as we get customers to approve that kind of thing. The idea, though, our data model is pretty flexible behind the scenes, and we're actually architected to be able to plug a number of different components behind the scenes. We don't really care if it's a NoSQL database, an SQL database, a log file, don't care. Our query engine is designed such that your reporting, or what alerts you build, gets translated to whatever the backend system happens to support. So if it's a relational database or a non-relational database, the query engine is really where we would be plugging that in.
Are you also presenting the data, and then I'll turn it over to the other questions, but do you have a presentation layer, or is this, you mentioned that, but it sounds like just
that's a great question. We actually thought there's lots of tools out there, both free and paid, that do the presentation layer right now. None of them do alerting very well, and none of them do analytics. And there are some things that reports are legitimately decent for, and we aim to be more of a supplement in that area. But there are plenty of places where people ask for a report because that's just what they expect to ask for. And the solution to the business concern isn't necessarily getting a report, it's just being aware of what's going on. So in that case, we'd be looking to replace. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, I think I closed it up here. Let's go home.
Thanks, Steve. One more announcement. We'll have the end of the year pitch competition at Techtown, December 2nd, first Wednesday of the month. So make sure to be there. There'll be beer, drinks. Crowd last year, I think we had close to 100 people. So make sure to stay tuned with the DNewTech. You'll get that notification and sign up and remind yourself over and over again. Thanks so much for coming out, guys. And feel free to hang out here for a bit and have a safe trip home.
We're getting some food too. Did they order food for us?
Nope, not food, sorry. Next time.
The software.